K.
And tonight we are doing Still, the Michael J. Fox movie, or a Michael J. Fox movie is how it's
A Michael J. Fox movie.
Still.
Interesting.
Yeah, a Michael J. Fox movie, because he's not so still because he has Parkinson's. That's what the movie's, it's a movie about his life, documentary, and he's got Parkinson's, so that plays heavy into this. You sent a short list of things we were gonna talk about over the next couple of weeks, and this was leading the pack. Why? What made you interested in this?
Oh, this was leading the pack.
You sent like 4 or 5 things, and I think this was first, but it felt sectioned off. It felt like you said, we can do Still and these other options, and I was like, oh, okay, so you want to do Still?
Oh, you're right. I did. I
had heard about it.
I guess I did want to see this.
Yeah, so I was like, that's fine. If you want to do Still, I mean, it's not. We don't usually do documentaries. Last time we did one was not so good, but this is different than hatchet wielding hitchhiker.
I know. I was thinking after I picked this, I was like, this and the next one I picked for my next pick too. I was like, oh crap! I buried I'm in a hole again. Like I realized that my last documentary was not a stellar pick. We did have a lot to say about it, and it caused a lot of talk on the site. It was the one about the hatchet wielding hitchhiker. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yep. Hi.
So when I realized that, I was like, but this is different. This isn't like a sensationalist kind of situation. It really is just a documentary about Michael J. Fox and how his life has changed since his diagnosis with Parkinson's.
A short kid from a Canadian Army base becomes the international pop culture darling of the 1980s, only to find the course of his life altered by a stunning diagnosis. Parkinson's. This has got a 99% Rotten Tomatoes with a 96 audience and an 8.2 on IMDb. Not surprising.
There you go.
Who's going to give the Overcoming Struggles documentary a bad review? It seems that would be me.
Wow.
It looks like a couple people did. But if you haven't seen Still, Michael J. Fox movie, it is on Apple TV Plus, which we don't really pull from super often because it's not the I would not consider it one of the primary streamers. What is it, like 5th, you think? 6th?
Well, for me, it's probably like 3rd or 4th. Maybe 4th right now, yeah.
You know, Jess actually argues for Apple TV Plus. She says she watches a lot of stuff on there. And I'm like, I really don't.
Yeah. I
watch Max. And probably like Hulu. And that's probably the ones I watch. And Prime. But Prime, I watch garbage. Prime, I find like movies that have been watched by like 8 people and their budgets are like $20,000 and like you've never heard of anybody in it, and they're usually terrible, but sometimes they're kind of good. So
that's my Peacock. Peacock is my
they have that on Peacock,
not for any movies. It's all for TV stuff. Something when I need to, if I need to binge something really awful and just want to sit and eat popcorn. Not really awful, honestly, but just kind of, sometimes it's really comforting stuff like Escape to the Chateau, but sometimes it's
I feel like Peacock's streaming quality, something's wrong with it. Like, you know how like there's like 4K streaming now, like Netflix has the different tiers now of streaming quality. I feel like every time I watch Peacock, it's blurry. All the other ones are fine, but I don't know, something's wrong with Peacock. Anyway.
You know what? I feel like you're right. I was actually noticing that it's, for us, it wasn't blurry. It's more of a stilted kind of like.
It's like 720 like pixels or something. It's like some lower res. It's something's up with Peacock. But I mean,
somebody drew it with crayon.
It's decent content for the price. It's just it looks bad. I don't know. We should do a comparing streaming services at some point. We'll
I like that. I like that idea. That's something different.
Yeah.
It's fun to do.
What do you think the other, I don't know.
Well, but we're on Apple TV Plus right now, though, and I do watch some stuff on there. So
we're going to spoil Still, a Michael J. Fox movie now, so it's on Apple
about
TV
Parkinson's.
Not that there's not to spoil because it's a documentary. So Michael J. Fox, the actor, big time star in the 80s. You find out he had very humble up roots, couch surfing, bouncing around, not gonna make it, and then he gets the big break on Family Ties, and he becomes like the breakout star, and he becomes like the Fonzie of that show, where like he's like a side character, but everyone thinks of him from that show, and then the show becomes about that character, right? That seems to be the gist. And then he gets cast in like a roundabout way in Back to the Future, and then he takes off to superstardom, and then he gets diagnosed pretty close to right after the peak of his powers, like, right
Yeah.
after, like, early, I think 91 he gets diagnosed, so that's tail end of the trilogy, and then, he's getting a little older
Yeah.
now, so
That's only like 10 years into his career. I mean, really, something
right.
like that.
It's basically right when he's on top. It happens,
Yeah.
like peaking out, and then he kind of has to go through the next, I don't know, like 15-ish years of his career, and he doesn't even talk about it, and he keeps it under wraps. He just kind of tries to plug through it by himself and not tell people, and his guy, you learn about his relationship with his wife, and him and his struggles now, and it's a nice little story. Mama K, what'd you think of this documentary?
Yeah, well, this is a my pick. So I was obviously interested in the content, but I kind of picked it because I'm always interested in the story and how people deal with adversity. But also, I'm going to admit something. I have never seen Back to the Future. Like,
that doesn't seem possible. How is that possible?
I have not seen
you would have been like,
any of the...
What, like 17 when that came out? How is that possible?
I don't think I was 17. I think it was...
Oh, you're older.
Oh, maybe I was, yeah.
20,
no, I mean, when was Back to the Future?
Old. I don't know, maybe 84?
I was not that old. I was in college. I mean, I kind of remember.
Yeah, a high school or college age kid person, yes.
Yeah, never saw Back to the Future. Never saw any of those three. So for me, Michael J. Fox is Alex P. Keaton. Like, that's who he is to me. And also a terrible movie, like sometime within the trilogy time frame, I think, Secret of My Success, which I know that movie. I dislike that movie a lot. Your dad likes that movie a lot. So if he sees
what's it called, did you say?
Secret of My Success. He is, it's sort of his story. Instead of going into the movie business, he works his way up to Wall Street, right? And becomes this kind of, super Wall Street asshole guy. And of course has to be taken down notches.
Is it like Wall Street? Because I love Wall Street.
It's a comedy, though. It's not.
Wall Street's hilarious. Whatever.
Oh, Wall Street, the movie?
Yeah, no, the movie Wall Street with Charlie Sheen and Michael Douglas.
It's not hilarious. This is the John Hughes version of that. So it's probably like 1986, 1980. You wouldn't like it. I don't like it.
I like some bad stuff.
At all. Yeah, it's not bad enough for you to like. It's really middle of the road. And also it hasn't, like, everything about it hasn't aged well. When you try to watch, when it's on and you're trying to watch it, the movie soundtrack is kind of like, you know what I mean? It hasn't.
Yeah, comedies.
I don't know what's wrong.
Doesn't age well anyway.
It has a hard time. Yeah. So anyway, so that I'm from the Alex P. Keaton era, and so I'm interested in how how this documentary is going to be, because documentaries usually are kind of the same. What I really liked about this is how it wasn't, a lot of documentaries will be like a lot of people talking about the person, like, oh, he was this is what he was like when I met him, and this is what he's like now. And that's not what this is. This is a lot of him, face on. Sometimes he's struggling. At one point, he does have to stop and say, I need to take my medicine. And, I should have taken it 10 minutes ago, because otherwise he very much wants to be in control of this. And I think that that's part of the whole, everything that's happened to him, that why he was able for like 15 years to not let people know. I have to say, looking back when I was watching, when it was happening to him, he was on a show called, what was the name of that show?
Spin City.
Yeah, Spin City. And I thought it was obvious there was something going on with him during that period of time before he said there was something wrong. Because he was, he was always kind of like this fast-paced, not still kind of actor and kind of person. But he was so, the tics and the quirks and the shakiness were really evident, not just he was always talking about how his hand was always shaking. It wasn't just that. His head was always bobbing. There was I was like, there's something going on with him. You don't know what at that point, whether it's drugs or something else. And obviously it's something else. But, yeah, so I totally got off track there with that. But I do like the way that it was presented, and that he's the one who's talking about it with glimpses back of what his life, how his life, came about, and people that had places in it, and things that affected him with him becoming an actor, and then working his way through this piece of his life.
I think my favorite part, the way about this, is how it's told it's actual documentary filmmaking, where it's pretty much told, other than the shots of him head on and a couple of him kind of living day-to-day life, it's movie clips, and it's him from when he's younger through,
right.
And like as he's like kind of narrating the story, almost audiobook style, because it shows him in like there and like on the camera, and then he's talking, and he's kind of struggles kind of with the speech there, but then when it's cutting to clips of his career, then it's like kind of audiobook style, where he's talking and it's much clearer and like more like ironed out. And I like all that. That's that I haven't seen really in a lot of docs. I mean, you see it sparingly used, but it pretty much continued the whole way through, where like it's just like he would be like, oh, I was going out and getting wasted, and then it would show like him drunk in one of his movie roles. And then,
yeah. I liked that. Yeah, that they used that footage to represent it.
That's kind of like the crux of the doc for me, is all that, because outside of that, like the actor, he seems good. He's like, and I think we have much fewer of them now. He's like a classic movie star, or I don't think he's like a compelling actor in anything I've seen per se, but like he's got charisma, and he gets up on there and everyone's cheering for him, and like, yeah, you like him. Like, I guess what's a good modern day, like it's kind of how I see like Keanu Reeves. Like, I don't think Keanu Reeves is a good actor, but he's a movie star. Tom Cruise, people say that, although I think Tom Cruise is actually a good actor, but he's movie star first. Like, gets up there, he's got the charisma, and he's going forward. It's not literally him disappearing into his role and studying craft and Juilliard shit. It's he's up on the stage with a skateboard and a guitar, and everyone's rocking along with him. So that's not really the type of thespian that appeals to me per se. I admire his resolve, though. He does seem like he is probably still kind of a dick. Well,
that's the thing. At one point there, that comes up, like, was I a dick? Like, or the guy even asks him, like, were you a dick? And he's like, yeah,
I was a bit of a dick. That's what he said. He says it like that. He says it like someone who's still kind of a dick. Like,
right.
A bit of a dick. It was like he basically like total. You don't wish it on anybody. It's kind of feels total deal with the devil. This guy down in his luck, nothing, and then all of a sudden, overnight breakout star for 10 years, and then the Piper comes, and now he's falling down the stairs. But I mean, he's still like, I don't know. That's a good question. Trade off. Would you, if you could have Michael J. Fox's life, would you?
No,
I don't think so either.
No, this disease is an old person's disease. So for somebody his age to get it is just
it's genetic.
You've made a terrible deal with the devil. Like
if that's indeed I'm speculating here, but I'm just saying it line in the classic story tale. His story lines up pretty well with the classic. Yes, it has parallels. But like I was thinking, like if you could be basically on top of the world for 10 years, and they're not just any 10 years, you're basically your 20s, like young, hot, fun
20s in the 80s when everything was just like whatever. You
could do, and no paper trail. Like I'm sure every person ever before the 21st century, like the last 20 years, like. Imagine that their Twitters, like, they would be disgusting, reprehensible people.
That's why everyone could get canceled now. Like, everything is so far out there, and you're like, people before were just like this. They are no different than the people now. So, it's just out there.
But I say you could live that debaucherous lifestyle for like the 10 years, and then like because usually when we do those kind of arguments of like the live forevers and everything, you and the other two women who are not on tonight are always retreat to safe answers, never testing the boundaries of oh maybe I would want to live forever.
Didn't
or,
I do
oh,
that tonight? Didn't I do that
well,
tonight?
I'm saying
too?
I'm saying I usually go on. I usually go on the offensive and say, "Yeah, give me the crazy life. I'll give it a shot." In this case, like, no, like this disease seems so horrible that like I don't think any amount of any deal is worth it. I much rather live a much more mediocre life than a.
And you have to figure that he's got, obviously the best healthcare possible, and the people surrounding him, supporting him. He's got wealth. He's got, a name behind him, and now he's got a foundation for Parkinson's. It's like he has all. If you're going to get this disease, he's got the best benefits.
Oh yeah,
behind you to get this disease. So even though all of that, I'm a hard pass.
That's what I was gonna say. Like you could like what's a disease where it would be okay?
Oh gosh,
to live with. What about like Magic Johnson? He's got HIV, but he seems fine.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fine?
Yeah. I mean,
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson had a life, right? I mean, like big time.
Michael J. Fox had a life.
Well, no, very different than Magic Johnson. Like.
There is no difference between Michael J. Fox and Magic Johnson.
Yes, there is. If you went internationally and talked about
identical, same life,
same life,
no difference.
Same. They look the same. They're the same height. They were in the same business. No, considering the thing is when Magic Johnson was diagnosed, it was much more. It wasn't quite a death sentence still. You still had the possibility that that you weren't gonna get full blown AIDS and that it wasn't gonna kill you. But now,
our opinion of it doesn't change the disease. I mean, it's still what it's
whether it's a life or death situation changes whether you're gonna take the deal or not.
Yeah, but he's still isn't AIDS usually HIV is usually a death sentence, and he's still kicking somehow.
Not now. I guess you might not be up to date on the most recent.
The magic's gone?
HIV. No, it's not just magic. I mean, I know a guy personally who. I'm
not talking about would you rather have HIV or have Parkinson's. I'm sorry. Would you rather have Michael J. Fox's life or no? I guess that's not really.
I'm taking Magic Johnson's life. I'm telling you right now.
All right. What about Michael J. Fox, Magic Johnson, or your life?
Oh.
Is Magic Johnson true enough to overcome the disease?
Yeah, I mean, Magic Johnson's got a pretty cool life.
Yeah, I think so.
He's still beloved, even though, he got AIDS in a or HIV in a nefarious way. It's like, he's still a beloved figure.
Is it just the day-to-day comfortability of it? Like, is it more comfortable? Is it maybe more comfortable? Do you notice more with Parkinson's than I don't know. I'm out of my element here.
Yeah, you are out of your element because Parkinson's is 100% a death sentence. There's no, this is going to kill him. The fact that he's lived this long is pretty much a miracle. HIV, you can now take medicines where you're basically, I'm sure you've seen the commercials, undetectable, and you're on meds for the rest of your life, but your life doesn't, you're not afraid for your life every day when you wake up. You're not afraid you're not going to wake up every day. That's the difference. Also, Magic Johnson, you played with Kareem, you played with Kobe. Did he play with Kobe? No, that was Shaq. You got to go for that. There's,
Well, you said because he played with cool. Michael J. Fox acted with cool actors. That's not like a.
Yeah, but again, for me, I never saw Back to the Future, so I think maybe. Well,
he didn't just hang out with the cast from Back to the Future. I'm sure he knew everybody from so the whole Brat Pack. You have access to all them, and then probably the guys from the generation before that, the '70s guys. You're probably on a first name basis with these folks.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a height thing that I wouldn't want to give that up either. Yeah.
You're
No,
also
I don't
switching
know.
sexes here. You're no longer. Well, I mean, I guess you could still identify. I don't know how that would work in this situation.
I don't think we don't want to go down that road. But
You ever see Gleason, the documentary Gleason?
what?
The documentary Gleason. Did you ever see that?
No.
Gleason.
No.
That's about Steve Gleason from the New Orleans Saints. He was like a special teams player, and then he got ALS, and then that whole documentary is like him going from being that guy to being.
Are you
ALS,
saying you want to do that one next?
Steve? Oh no, Steve Gleason's last out of these three. Yeah, for 100%.
No, I'm saying, do you want to do a podcast on that documentary next?
No. I'm saying this reminded me of that in good ways. I like Gleason a little more, but I'm saying it's a similar kind of thing. Famous person, life all in front of them.
Yeah,
doing big things, and then yeah.
I have to tell you, before I watched this, I sort of expected to feel a lot more, I guess, pity for him than I ended up feeling, because it's funny watching him as I can still see, like, he still is like 95% Michael J. Fox to me. Like, he's not the disease. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really thought it was going to be more like and they show him full off, falling and, what he has to go through with PT all the time and they show all of that. So there's nothing glamorous about it in the slightest. But they also don't really show the nitty gritty, I don't think. So that's part of it that would.
At one point too, they do go to him just like, you haven't really talked about it. Are you like, this is a very painful disease? Are you in pain? He's just like constantly, just like all the time.
Yeah.
He's just like tremendous. Like that's all he like. He doesn't want to harp on it. Almost like thinking about it makes it worse.
Right. And you can think that, like, think about your body moving all the time without your knowledge and permission. And it's constant. I would imagine your muscles are constantly seizing. You must feel either drained. You must just feel physically drained all the time. And the pain is just another factor for it. So, but I didn't feel pity. It felt like a really respectful way to show what's happening in this journey for him. And I think it's nice to have something that he can, leave to his children. He's got four kids, and one that they decided to have after, he had this after he found out he had Parkinson's and
isn't it like hereditary? Is that like risky business once you find that out?
Yeah, I think there is a hereditary piece to it. So yeah, I agree.
Oh, I mean, it's a disease that you don't get it from environmental factors. As far as I'm pretty sure the only way you can get it is some sort of genetic handoff, but bad luck, basically.
Yeah, but whether it's something that's like, there are ones
or
that
deal
are
with the devil to become
1 in 4
superstar. Yeah.
Well, those Canadians, they're sneaky. You never know what they're gonna do. So I don't know.
He thought he was buying it in Canadian years, and so he got the calc wrong.
He's constantly looking at the exchange rate, and being crap.
Yeah, he's like, it's like 1.3 years to 1 year there. Yeah.
Well,
on the exchange.
Yeah, after watching it, I looked up a little bit because I don't like to look up a lot of stuff to start with. I kind of want to know. I want to go in, kind of naked and fresh and ready. But the guy who directed this and was the interviewer, Guggenheim, you know what else he directed?
I actually did not. What did Guggenheim make?
This is going to cause it an Inconvenient Truth. Oh,
I like that film kind of. I have thoughts on Inconvenient Truth.
There's a visceral reaction in our house to that. The Inconvenient
Truth has core memory. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. When I saw that, I was just like
a young environmentalist before my mother came in and squashed all that.
Well, yeah. So the story goes: young Brennan, probably 11, 12, something like that, middle school.
Whenever it came out, I was probably 12. Yeah.
Yeah, comes home from school and says that, we watched Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth today at school. And you had all of this information that you were just like, was just coming out of your face. And I'm,
Yes.
listening and doing whatever I was doing besides listening at the time, which moms do.
It was in the
And
kitchen, probably making dinner. I remember.
yeah, and you were getting very upset. You were getting very, you know, the
I was
we've only
passionate,
have 10
actually.
years and the planet's going to end and you got to stop doing this and you got to stop doing that and you got to stop doing this and all I said was one simple sentence. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember exactly what you said.
I said, "Okay, well, babe." Well, first it was, "Babe, calm down." And then it was, "There are two sides to every story." And then you were just like, I think you stared at me for like 20 seconds straight, just like, "Oh, I don't know what to do with that information."
Well, I went to school. I watched a documentary about how the planet's
Right.
dying. I come home and says, "What'd you learn at school?" I learned, well, we're gonna be dead in 10 years, so that's not great. And you basically said no, and I'm like, "What do you mean no?" At school, I said I'm gonna die. You're telling me I'm not going to? What are you talking about? And then I had to go. I probably went on an internet K-hole for like 3 years until I came out at this person. So
I know, it was a seminal moment though, because it was just like, okay, I, that sure you got this
it
information,
might have
but
been the
there's a
first
lot of
time.
information out there.
It was probably the first time because you argued with my school all the time because you thought they were
Oh
dumb.
yeah,
But
yeah, there were times I argued
but
with
I
the
had never
school.
really thought about it. I was always just like, you go to school, you learn, and the school teaches you, and you learn the thing from the school. The school's not going to be wrong. And then you said school's wrong. And I was like, oh no. Well, I
love
like
that
rules and institutions and fixtures surprisingly, and I don't like when I have to think about outside of that. So now I have to.
I like that that's what you got out of it. School is wrong. School is bad.
That's what you told me. I was like, so you go to school and it's right. They said, well, not this one. I'm like, not this one? The one where we're going to die in 10 years? That seems like an important one to be wrong about.
Well, who was wrong? It's been 18 years, something like that. So far.
It's not better, but we are alive. But
I didn't say it wasn't better. I just said that you're alive. So, it's just that I think when they do those kind of things, or not they, but when, and there's not a context around it, and, you're sitting there with 11 or 12-year-old kids, and anything that you just sit and put it in front of them, and especially someone like you who really takes in information. I'm sure that half the kids were probably like going, "When is lunch? When is reset?" Their brains were totally turned off. But there are kids like you that take in information and, want to either talk about it or, you want to come home and unload that information because that's what some kids
It was
do,
a big
so.
discovery. I had no idea. I had never heard of climate change, and then the vice president came on the TV and told me I was going to be dead in 10 years. At school. And I was like, what? Did you guys know about this?
Basically, it would have been better if you just ran in the house yelling, "What have you been hiding from me?"
I was just like, are we at the end here? Why did you have me at the end? If you knew this was coming, you should have just celebrated the apocalypse without me. I didn't ask for that.
Everybody needs to have these moments in life because they're the best. They're the best. So. Anyway, this is the director of that movie is the same as the director of this film. So,
well, now I don't believe a fucking word of this documentary. I don't even think Michael J. Fox is Parkinson's. It's fucking long gone. Two sides to every story. He doesn't even exist.
He's totally AI. He's the first AI back from the 80s.
I just say before we leave, and on another glib note, you ever watched Arrested Development?
No, I've tried to a couple times.
Oh man, there's a character on there that Martin Short plays called Uncle Jack, and
yeah,
he has like super dyed jet black hair, and he's supposed to be playing like this 100-something-year-old guy, but he's trying to pretend he's young, so he has this big muscular guy carrying him around everywhere. And when Michael J. Fox is being walked around by the big 7-foot tall guy, I just couldn't help but think of Arrested Development. And he would walk into a room and he'd like hit his head on the wall, coming in like, oh god damn it, you've got to watch where you're going. And then he would just be talking and all of a sudden start vomiting because he's like supposed to be like 130 years old. And, like, oh, just don't look at me, I'm fine. When Michael J. Fox falls in the street, I couldn't help it. Just be like, oh, it's Uncle Jack.
Did you think you were going to be making an Arrested Development, reference during?
I was hopeful. I'm always hopeful.
Well, I guess we have fans that are Arrested Development people, so yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they like good stuff, so I imagine we have a lot of people who've watched it.
That's all I have to say about it. Thanks for watching and indulging in and one more remind me next time. Mom, this is a documentary, don't forget. So
yeah, we don't usually review them because this happened. There's not that, like, what do you review a documentary about? Do you review the technique? It's good technique. We talked about that story.
I think this is really good technique, actually.
Yeah,
so
he tricked me into thinking that I was gonna die so many years ago, and now he's back to tell it. A 3.5-star documentary.
A different story.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Michael J. Fox can live, so can all of you 12-year-olds from the past.
That's right. That's the takeaway. Do you recommend still a Michael J. Fox movie, Mama K?
Yeah, I think it's a short watch and it's well made, and you should watch it.
Will it be up for something, you think? You think it'll be up, make it to Oscar season? You think it has the momentum?
It might. I think it did well at South by Southwest, so.
I feel like a lot of the times the documentaries I see during the year don't actually make it to the end, except for Won't You Be My Neighbor is the only one I can really think of. Like, all the other ones that get nominated, like Navalny I had heard of, and I figured that would make it, but I didn't.
Michael J. Fox is a beloved character too, so that's possible.
Just like Navalny. Did you ever see that? That's such a good documentary.
No,
it's good. He's a complicated dude. Interesting. Okay. I also recommend still a Michael J. Fox movie. It's good. It's above average documentary. Some good style. Interesting guy. I feel not bad about making fun because he has basically lived a god life for 10 years. So that's the deal you make, Michael. Sorry to tell you. That's what happens. So 2 recommends, and I was going to say 1 not recommend, but the other 2 are not here to not recommend this.
No.
So they probably would probably recommend this. They like docs. This is easy.
Yeah.
Recommend. There you go. Watch it on Apple TV Plus if you have that. And if you have things to recommend to us, Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Brennan_podhost. And you can email the show filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Thanks for being on for still, Mama K.
You're welcome.
Till next time, this is Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.